Chapter 1. Revelation. A woman gives birth as the local midwife, Liz, helps her. She's mute and has her daughter Sam communicate for her. The man thanks them and they leave. Men working on a barn greet Liz and Sam as they drive past. They are doing household chores when she stops to scold her husband Eli for helping his son, Matthew, with shooting practice. Eli agrees not to do it and tells Matthew they can't scare his mother. He says Liz isn't his mother. They go to church and a new Reverend walks in. Liz freezes when she hears him speak and looks like she'll cry. Eli asks if she's all right, and she nods. The townspeople greet the Reverend after the service, but Liz slips past and avoids him. A woman goes into labor, and she jumps into action. She takes the woman into the church and has everyone else leave, including her daughter. The baby's head is too big, and the mother or child will live, but not both. Liz has the mother push and wraps the newborn in cloth before giving the dead child to the mother, who starts screaming and crying. At home, Eli tries to put her at ease by saying it wasn't her fault and was in God's hands. She says it was the Reverend's fault, but he doesn't believe her. Liz checks on the baby she delivered the day before, but is sent away because the Reverend arranged for a doctor instead. The men are cold towards her as she drives past. That night, Nathan, the father of the dead newborn, shoots into their bedroom window and says she must burn for her sins. He accuses her of murdering his son because he saw the baby's broken skull. The Reverend arrives and stops Nathan. Liz tells Eli not to let him inside, but he does anyway and offers the Reverend a drink. He comments that the baby was born in poor health, but it wasn't Liz's choice to decide who lives and dies. Eli goes to fetch Liz, and she hides from him. The Reverend calls out to her, saying he knows she's there. He asks her how it feels to be a murderess. He's there to punish her and asks if she loves her family. He says Sam is almost a young woman. Eli returns, and the Reverend asks that they don't hold a grudge against Nathan, as losing a child is the worst thing to go through. After he leaves, she tells Eli they need to get out of there. He says Nathan will come to his senses, but they'll go up to his father's cabin in a few days anyway. The following morning, they find all their sheep have been gutted. Eli and Matthew talk to Nathan against Liz's wishes. She makes Sam wait outside as she clears away the bodies. The barn door is locked, and she hears the Reverend singing with Sam. He takes her hand and walks away. Liz is desperate to escape and is knocked unconscious when she falls off a ladder. She wakes up to the sound of Eli arriving and explains that the Reverend took Sam. She's found, and Liz puts her to bed. She's quiet and doesn't want her mother to touch her. She asks Liz if she's evil because the Reverend says she murdered a man, and he's there to punish her and take her back to where she came from. She waits until everyone sleeps and grabs a knife before riding to the church. She finds Sam's doll in the Reverend's bed and rushes home. Eli wakes up to Liz missing and his children sleeping peacefully. There's a light in the barn, and he investigates. The Reverend stabs him and explains that he's doing this because Liz loves Eli. She arrives home and finds Eli in the barn with his intestines wrapped around his neck. He begs her to make the pain stop. Matthew fetches the gun, and his father makes him promise to look after Liz and Sam. He does, and cries as he shoots his father. Sam joins them and says the Reverend woke her up before setting the house on fire. They escape to Eli's father's cabin. The Reverend watches their house burn. Chapter 2. Exodus. Joanna is walking through the desert. She's dirty and weak. She wakes up in the caravan of a family who rescued her. They take her to Bismuth and sell her to Frank, the local brothel owner. Sally, one of Frank's first prostitutes, looks after her. Joanna works in the brothel, and a drunk man grabs her arm and asks her price. Frank says the man can't afford her. Sally offers to sleep with the man for no charge, and she'll pay Frank for it. The man agrees only if Joanna watches. She's forced to agree and points a gun at him when he gets rough with Sally. He tries to take advantage of her, so Sally shoots him. She's sentenced to hang as an example to the other prostitutes that they must always do what the customer asks. Elizabeth covers Joanna's eyes so she doesn't have to see Sally die. Joanna is grown up and has become close friends with Elizabeth. They watch Frank fight with someone who blames him for his daughter dying. Frank wins the fight, and Joanna sees Zeke shoot the man from a hidden position. A customer tries to kiss Elizabeth, and she bites off his tongue. Frank cuts off her tongue as punishment. The doctor checks on Elizabeth and gives her a book for sign language. She practices with Joanna and signs that she'll kill Frank and run away. Joanna asks her not to do it because she doesn't want to live without her. They visit a marriage broker who has found a widower named Eli who has a son and doesn't mind that Elizabeth has no tongue. She's packing her suitcase to escape when they're told that a wealthy customer has bought out the brothel for the night. Frank threatens all prostitutes with harsh punishment if they ruin this for him. Joanna walks out and sees the Reverend. She freezes. The women parade in front of him one by one. Joanna is the last one and wears a lace mask. The Reverend touches her shoulder and feels 2 moles on her back. He says he only wants her, and they go to a room alone. He's disappointed with what she's become and will forgive her if she completes the ceremony. Joanna refuses and says she'll kill him first. The Reverend uses a belt to beat her, and she screams for help. Elizabeth slashes his face, and he kills her. Joanna grabs the knife and cuts his throat. She makes it look like he killed himself after killing Elizabeth. Joanna gives the doctor money to help cut off her tongue. He says he can't do it, so she does it herself, and he tends to the wound. She takes on Elizabeth's identity, and he wishes her luck. Chapter 3, Genesis. Joanna prays in Dutch and changes to English when her father walks by. It's the Reverend. He blames his wife, Anna, for Joanna still speaking Dutch, even though they're in a new land. He tries to sleep with her, but she doesn't want to. He says he's in charge of her body, and she gives him no choice. Joanna wakes up in the middle of the night with pain in her stomach. She goes to the outhouse and finds herself bleeding. She hears her parents, blows out the candle, and follows them to the barn. The Reverend whips Anna. Later that night, Anna crawls into Joanna's bed and holds her as she cries. Joanna is trying to clean her bloody sheets the following day when her mother finds her. She says she's dying, and Anna explains that this happens to all girls her age. Joanna is now a woman and ready to have children. Joanna is feeding the pigs when a man named Samuel rides up to their property. He's injured, and so is the other man on his horse. He asks for water and asks her to care for the other man's wounds. She drags them into the barn and sends his horse away so her parents don't find them. Joanna tends to their wounds even though her father wouldn't like that. The other man leers at her and blows kisses. Samuel thanks her for helping them. The Reverend watches Joanna perform tasks. He tells Anna that their daughter is growing up. He makes Joanna bathe him, says her mother doesn't do her natural duties, and that Joanna was made a woman so early for a reason. Anna sees this and says it's not right. He says he answers to God, not her. She tries to seduce him, but he says no thank you, and that God has other plans. The Reverend watches Joanna dress, and Anna sees this. She apologizes for keeping his right as her husband from him and wants to make it up to him. He says it's too late. She calls his desire for his daughter a sin, so he beats her and says it won't be a sin if they marry. the Reverend takes Anna into town. Joanna brings food to the men in the barn. Samuel asks for some rope and uses it to strangle the other man while he's on the toilet. He feeds the man's body to the pigs and explains that he had to do it, otherwise he would have been killed instead. The Reverend has a steel cage made for Anna's head and locks it. Joanna asks her mother why she let him do this and says she'd rather die before being like Anna. Her mother hangs herself in the middle of the Reverend's sermon. Joanna goes to the barn and hugs Samuel. She begins undressing, but he shakes his head. She says she's old enough. He says he knows, but still stops her, and they hug. The Reverend makes Joanna wear the steel cage on her head and takes her to the church so he can marry her. Samuel walks in to stop the ceremony and steals the key, which he gives to Joanna. The Reverend overpowers and kills him. The Reverend whips Joanna and touches the moles on her back. He promises to be gentle and rapes her. She sneaks out of the house in the middle of the night and runs away. Chapter 4. Retribution. Liz, Matthew, and Sam slowly ride on the snowy mountain. Matthew asks if the Reverend will ever stop chasing them, and she shakes her head. The carriage hits something, and Matthew tries to see what's wrong, even though Liz tries to stop him. The Reverend shoots Matthew, and Liz holds him as he dies. They make it to her father-in-law's cabin. He cries when he hears the news of his son and grandson's murders. He had hoped to leave the cabin to his son. Liz fetches a gun and loads it. She wants him to stay with Sam and says this is her fight. She waits on the porch with the gun. The Reverend appears and says it's no use for her to try shooting him at such a distance. She tries anyway, but misses. He says he was ready to forgive her in Bismuth. He loved her, and she turned against him. He says that Sam is another alternative for him. He threatens Sam, and Liz runs to check on her. She's fast asleep, but her father-in-law is dead. Liz carries her daughter downstairs and tries to escape, but the Reverend catches them. He promises to do to Sam what he did to her and ties her up. She's forced to watch as he whips her daughter. Liz dislocates her shoulders to escape from her bindings. She sets her father on fire and shoots him. It's summertime, and they're building on the cabin by the lake. Nathan arrives on a ferry and says he was sent to Bismuth by the Reverend, where he replaced the old sheriff. He found a wanted poster for Elizabeth murdering Frank and says Liz should have changed her name. She's chained up on the ferry when she throws herself into the water. Sam is grown up and thinks about her mother. She feels like Liz always stayed with her. As she walks into the cabin with her husband and children, she looks at the forest because it feels like someone is watching her.